Good morning. Today we are going to do a sink or float activity. We are going to talk about items being dense or less dense and why they sink or why they float. Are we ready? Here's my friends to help me.
Hi.
What's your name?
Sophia.
Sophia. And who are you?
No,
this is my grandson Julian, and today they are going to help me. We're going to do some predictions. So we have to where something that's sinking, something that's floating. We have the words here, and these are the items we're going to use. We're going to use a pom-pom, a bubble wand, a coin, and a rubber ducky. So are we ready?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Sophia, which one are you going to choose first?
I'm going to choose my favorite pom-pom.
The wand. Okay, so here's the wand. W, A, and D. All right, wand. All right, so is it going to sink or is it going to float?
I think it's gonna float.
Julian says he thinks it's going to float too. Okay, so you go ahead and you mark your right here, because we know that you're the pink one. And Julian, you're going to come here and you're going to mark here on the bottom.
How do I take this off?
Oh, there you go. And you're going to mark here on the bottom. So we know that you're the orange.
Yes.
And you are going to think that it floats too, okay?
3.
All right.
This.
So, dense means it's going to sink. That means it's heavier than the water. If it's less dense, it's going to float. That means it's lighter than the water. That means it's buoyant. Can you say that word? Buoyant. All right, so let's see what's going to happen.
3, 2, 1.
It floats. Why did it float?
Because it's like
It's less dense because it's less dense. All right, so keep it in there. Let me see. We're going to watch it floating. It's less dense. So it is buoyant. Buoyant. Okay, Julian, your turn. Which one are you going to pick?
Yes.
The ducky? All right, so what do you think? Here's the duck. Here's the word for duck. D. U. C. K. All right, get your marker. Do you think it's going to sink or do you think he's going to float? You think he's going to float? All right, get your marker right there. There's your orange marker. All right, so right on here. Here's float up here. Make your mark. All right, what do you think, Sophia?
I think it's going to float too.
You think it's going to float too? Okay, so there's the floating, and there you go. Why do you think it's going to float, Sophia?
Because it's lighter.
You think it's lighter? All right, ready? Here we go.
3, 2, 1. Go.
He floated, so you're right. He is less dense. We're not on that one yet. We're not on that one yet, sir. Everybody gets a turn. He is less dense, so he is buoyant. All right, so now it's Sophia's turn. So Sophia, pick one, the pom-pom or the coin. All right, so is the pom-pom going to sink or float?
Float.
All right, so mark. Here's pom-pom. Here's float. Here's sink. So which one do you think it's going to do? You said? Float. All right, put it right there. All right, what do you think, Julian? Is the pom-pom going to sink or float?
Sink.
Okay, you think it's going to sink? Okay, get your marker. You think it's going to sink? The pom-pom's going to sink, so you got to mark right here on sink. All right, ready? Let's see. We made our predictions. We have a different prediction this time. We're not predicting the same thing. Ready? And 3, 2, 1. Drop it. Oh, it is floating. Wait a minute. He's kind of floating and kind of sinking all at the same time. What's happening?
It's going down.
It is going down. So at first it was lighter. At first it was lighter. It's going to be your turn in a minute. First it was lighter. And then it started absorbing the water. So he's still kind of floating to the top there.
He's still floating.
Still floating a little bit, but not completely on top.
What?
Interesting.
We gotta wait a little
All right, Julian, now you have the coin, Julian. Put the coin back up here real fast so we don't lose it because we got to make our prediction first. All right, so do you think it's going to sink, Julian, or do you think it's going to float?
Float.
All right, you think the coin's going to float?
Yep.
All right, so you got to mark on the float right there. And what do you think, Sophia?
I think it's going to sink.
You think it's going to sink? All right, so mark your...
Float.
Okay, Julian, ready? Put your... And...
3, 2, 1.
Whoa! What happened to the coin, Julian?
sank.
It sank. What happened, Julian? Did it sink or did it float?
Sink to the bottom.
Did it sink or did it float, Julian?
Sink.
It sank. Why did it sink?
Because it lights. Because it's dense.
Because it's dense. It's heavier. It's heavier. It's dense. It's heavier. Do it again, Julian. Because remember, if something is more dense, it goes down to the bottom. It sinks. If something is less dense, it'll float.
It's going down.
That still is kind of going down, but it's still kind of floating, so it's still considered floating.
It's like an ice cream.
All right, there we go. Our predictions.
This
Simple, easy way. Find some little items around the house. have them
I
predict,
gotta do this first.
making their choices on what they
do
think.
that one.
Talk about why they are floating. When something is dense, it goes to the bottom. It means it's
Then.
heavy.
Yeah.
If it is floating to the top, it is less dense. That
Good.
means it is
Bigger.
lighter. It's lighter. All right. So here you go. Sink and float. Have fun. All right, say bye. Thank you, guys. Bye.